Hello and welcome to Easterby Talks. Day one of Royal Ascot is over and done with. We saw a Ryan Moore treble. The first race started off with the Queen Anne. Kevin Ryan trained triple time to gamely win the race ahead of a late surging in Spiral with Frank Editori. The second race was the Coventry River Tiber for the Coolmore boys, won the race. He held on quite well from last year's winning connections with Army Ethos under the same jockey and the same trainer. And last year's winning connections, Bradsell, Holly Doyle, Archie Watson, and obviously the horse himself went on to win the King's Stand, which was the third race. There was a fairly lengthy steward's inquiry after the race because Highfield Princess, my selection of the race, Bradsell came across Highfield Princess and did intimidate her, but the winning distance was a length, so it was never really going to be enough for it to be overturned. The fourth race was the St James's Palace. Paddington won the race. It was a great set to with the Irish and British Guineas winner Paddington and Chaldine. My selection of the race, Royal Scotsman, was very disappointing. Jamie Spencer reported after the race he never travelled whatsoever. I thought he would have run a much better race, but now before going in on him again, I would just like to see a little bit more encouragement. The race after that was the staying handicap, the Ascot Stakes, and it was won by a mare in foal. Mares usually do run better when they're in foal. It was won by the Nicky Henderson trained A Horse With No Name. My selections of the race, Law of the Sea and Western, were 4th and 5th at 8 to 1 and 33 to 1. So if you got a bit of each way money there, well done. The third race was the Wolferton. This was a very, very messy race. If you watched the race in the the sixth race was the Wolferton. Very messy race, won by Shaker Bade's Royal Champion, the same colours as Triple Time. Very messy in the early doors of the race. And if you notice, the turn before home at Ascot is it's downhill before they sweep back uphill, and to try and get that position there's always a lot of scrimmaging, and there was, and my selection in the race didn't do any good at all. Missed the break and then was caught in running, and I think it's just a race to forget for Francesco Clementine. Didn't run a good race at all, but he had his excuses. And the last race on the day, my Nap ran in the race Vauban. He won as far as he could have liked. Before this race, he was 40 to 1 for the Melbourne Cup. He is cut down to best price 10 to 1 now. He won the race very easy. But without further ado, I would like to talk about day two of Royal Ascot. This, in my opinion, is the hardest day's racing. So if you are punting, following, go very careful, because I think there could be a few upsets on day two. The first race is the Queen Mary. 28 runners go to post, so you will have some good each way value. There's a lot of bookmakers will be paying 6 and 7 places, I can imagine, in this kind of race. First horse I'll talk about is, again, the on fire Carl Burke Stables Beautiful Diamond. This one at Nottingham first time up, very impressive, but 7 to 2, I can't be getting involved at a price like that in a 28 runner field. Another horse I would like to talk about is Midnight Affair. She won the Hilary Needler at Beverley last time out. That is a good trial for this kind of race, and that race always does take quite a bit of winning, but she didn't have the best looking running in the Hilary Needler, and she won quite cosily, so I think 9 to 1 could be a save each way bet about Midnight Affair for Danny Tudhope and Richard Fye in the Clipper Logistics colours. And one more horse I will quickly mention. I'm not going to spend too much time on this race. It's 2-year-old fillies. There's unbelievable amount of things which can go wrong here, so rather than waste your time, I'll cut to the point. Out of the Stars, I saw this horse run 70 days ago at Kempton. Lost a lot of ground at the start. It was very well backed this day, so the Archie Watson stable probably did think a bit about it. It's in the Qatar Racing colours. Oisin Murphy takes the ride. Lovely Zoustar filly. She did a lot of things wrong at Kempton on debut, and losing a lot of ground going wide, missing the break, and she got on to get up on the line pretty late. I can imagine she's learnt a lot from that, and at 16-1 again, she could be value. But in this race, the first race, the Queen Mary, if I'm going to have a bet in the race, I'm not. But if I was to, it would be Midnight Affair for the Richard Fye stable. The second race I would like to talk about is the Kensington Palace Fillies Handicap. This is over a mile on the round course. So as I mentioned about the Wolferton, obviously on day one, the round course races like this can get quite messy. But Belhaven, depends what the ground does. If the ground goes soft, I think this horse will be a lot shorter than 20-1 tomorrow. If rain comes, keep an eye on this. Do a rain check. If Belhaven, if the rain comes, I think Belhaven is a great chance at 20-1. But that is if the official going does change. Again, very competitive race. 23 runners. So again, bookmakers will pay plenty of places in this. Adlisi, hard to pronounce, number 17 in the Kensington Palace for Joseph O'Brien, and Mikey Sheehy takes the ride. This is a 7-1 shot. This was very unlucky at the Curragh last time out, and I think this horse will run well. But again, like race one, I'm not going to be spending too much time on it. But if I was to have a bet, it would be Adlisi, number 17 for Joseph O'Brien. The third race, the Duke of Cambridge Stakes. For fillies and mares, this is a Group 2 over the straight mile. This, again, is a very competitive race. The first horse I'd like to talk about, and I think goes into this race with a great chance. Obviously, if you know Jamie Spencer, he is renowned for holding his horses up, coming from behind, and trying to time it right. But when he rarely does go from the front, I think he is one of the best jockeys in the land. He is dangerous from the front, and he is on a front runner with Grand Dam. This horse is at its best when it goes from the front, and if it goes from the front tomorrow, I think this mare has a brilliant chance going into this. She hasn't run in 263 days, which is a bit of a concern, but her last run was in a Group 1, the Sun Chariot at Newmarket, finished third in that race, didn't get a clear run, and was ahead of Prosperous Voyage. Prosperous Voyage is the favourite in this race, 9-4. She was a Group 1 winner. She won the Falmouth at Newmarket last year. She had 3 runs after, wasn't at her best form, obviously when she was behind Grand Dam in the Sun Chariot. But she bounced back last time out at Epsom, winning very convincingly, and that will do her confidence a lot of good under the very capable hands of Frankie Dettori. But again, not a race I will be punting in, but I think it's very competitive. Jumbly, this can run a nice race. It's an Ascot winner in the past for Joseph O'Brien. Recently changed hands from Harry and Roger Charlton's yard. But Prosperous Voyage has a great chance, and I think Grand Dam could be a little bit of value at 7-1 if race fit. Obviously, it's against race fit horses. It's the only horse in this race who hasn't ran this year. So thinking about that a little bit more, I think Prosperous Voyage could probably be the one to beat in the 340. That's the Duke of Cambridge Stakes. The next race, we have finally got a small field. 6 runners go to post for the Prince of Wales. This is over 10 furlongs, obviously on the round course. It's not like the Wolferton yesterday, that was over 10 furlongs as well, but there was God knows how many runners. So this race, it'll obviously be a lot cleaner. There's a lot of high class in this race. Adiyar, he was a 2021 Derby winner. He won a Group 1 last time out. Group 3 last time out at Newmarket. He's been lightly raced since he won the Derby. But again, he goes into this race in the form of his life. Looking at his last race, Bay Bridge, he was second to Luxembourg, today's favourite, last time out in the Tatzel Gold Cup at the Curragh. Didn't get the best of luck in running that day and was always gaining on Luxembourg, but would he have beat him? I am not 100% convinced. Obviously, Luxembourg he was a brilliant horse last year. He won the Irish Champion Stakes. He ran okay in the Arc, finishing 7th of a big field. And then he was back to winning ways last time out in the Tattersall's Gold Cup at the Curragh. He's the 9-4 favourite for this race and could go very well. And obviously there's My Prospero in the race. He was 4th in the Lockinge last time out. Obviously how the form went from the Lockinge winner on day one with Modern Games, I wouldn't be convinced that it is obviously turning out to be the strongest form of the mile division, but he looked like he needed a little bit further than the mile, and obviously up to a mile 2 on in the Prince of Wales he could run a good race. But I think in the Prince of Wales, I think Luxembourg is the bet, and I do fancy him, and I do think he will take a bit of pegging back for the red hot Ryan Moore and Aidan O'Brien. Right, 33 runners go to post for the Royal Hunt Cup. This is a very tricky race. Throw a dart at it. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but there's one horse who I really had to write positive notes in my notebook about him. He won a Class 3 handicap at Redcar at the back end of last year, and I think if the ground does go softer, if there is a little bit more rain tonight, I think his chances will be enhanced, and I think he'll be a lot shorter than 14-1 tomorrow. But Awal won at Redcar last year, and I thought it was a group performance in a handicap. I was very impressed with him. And then I was quite keen on him for the Lincoln earlier this year. He finished 2nd. He didn't do anything wrong. He was maybe just a little bit gassy, hit the front too soon. And then he went to France, and things just didn't go his way in France. And I'm just going to forgive him for that. And if he bounces back to his best, which I think he's capable, I think he's got a great each way chance at 14-1. Look, there's 33 runners. As I've mentioned for the couple of other races, there will be, for the bookmakers, will be offering plenty of places out. The only other horse I will be mentioning in this race, so I'm going to mention, I'm a big believer in draws, and I think it'll come from one wing or the other. So I've obviously talked about Awal. He's drawn 29, so he's on the stands side. And the other horse I would like to talk about is Nigel Tinkler's Isla Kai. This horse has been probably a little bit disappointing for Connections after he ran a mighty race, finishing 6th in this race last year. However, he was off a £6 higher mark that day. Look, he's not a horse you can 100% trust. But if he runs like he did last year, off £6 higher mark, he could be in with a shout of running a very big race. He's drawn 4, so he's on the far side of the field tomorrow. But this son of Ortard, I think he's on a very nice handicap mark. He's won at Ascot in the past as well, over this course and distance, and he could go well at odds of 50-1. As I've mentioned, there's 33 runners, so you could get 7 or 8 places depending which bookmaker you go to. But plenty of places to be had in the Royal Hunt Cup. But yes, going back, Awal, in my opinion, could be a group horse in a handicap, if you can forgive his run in France last time out. The Queen's Vase. This is where my nap of the day is running tomorrow. This is Gregory. I was very confident on my nap yesterday with Vauban. I don't know if I'm as confident about this nap, but Gregory is 2 out of 2. He's well clear on the overall ratings. He's rated 110 after only 2 starts. And this horse is a proper galloper. He looks like he's got a lot more to learn. He's got a lot more to learn going forward, and I think this horse could be anything. He could, obviously, for the John and Tady Gosden stable, this is over a mile 6. He could be the next Stradivarius. They're bold words, but nothing is impossible. He's shown everything they want him to be showing so far. Chess Piece, he's a good price in this race. He won last time out at York over a mile and a half. I think up to mile 6 will suit him even more. He hit the line very strong that day, and I think he will appreciate every yard of the extra 2 furlongs. But I am very sweet on Gregory under Frankie Dettori in the Queen's Vase. That is race 6 in the 5:35. And the final race of day 2 is the Windsor Castle. Another big field. 26 runners go to post. These are true and 5 furlong speedsters. This race, blink and you'll miss it. Right, which one shall I start off with? There's 26 two-year-olds to start off with. The first one I will talk about is one of Ollie Sanks's. I believe this will be Ollie Sanks's first runner at the Royal Meeting. Jamie Spencer takes the ride. This horse was second over 6 furlongs at Windsor on his debut. He looked as if he was a bit too quick for 6, and coming back to 5, he could really appreciate that. He could run well. He's around 14 to 1. You cannot ignore Ryan Moore and Aidan O'Brien. They saddle up Johannes Brahms in this race. Lovely colt of Siuni. He showed a lot of speed last time out, and look, he could be anything. Aidan does not like to rev them up too much first time out, and if this horse wasn't revved up and he won, he could be a little bit special. But they're the only two I'm going to talk about in that race. But it's again, look, there's 26 runners. I wouldn't take my word too much on that one. But my strongest horses on the day, my nap, as I've mentioned, is Gregory. He runs in the Queen Vase. He is 7 to 4 shot for Frankie Dettori. My next best is Luxembourg in the Prince of Wales. He's a 9 to 4 shot. And my best each way bet is Awal in the Royal Hunt Cup. You will get plenty of places for this horse as well at 14 to 1. If he runs better than he did in France, and if he can resume his form from the Lincoln at Doncaster, I think he can go very well. But again, if you are attending the Royal Meeting, best of luck. Get your top hat polished off and have a good time.